So Hare Krishna, liebe Gäste, liebe Devotees, ein herzliches Willkommen zu unserem Krishna-Tempel in Zürich, an unserem Sonntagsfestival. Hare Krishna, dear guests, dear devotees, a big welcome to our Sunday festival in our Krishna Temple in Zurich. So now our Sunday program is as follows. We will have now a talk till 5 o'clock. Afterwards, there will be our Sunday feast, vegetarian meal. At 6:15, there will be a guided mantra meditation. At 7 o'clock, there will be a temple ceremony. And at 8 o'clock, we will have more of a mantra meditation with music, which we call kirtan. So, for today's talk, we are very happy to invite here His Grace Jayagurudeva Prabhu. Please welcome him with a big Hari Bol. Maybe you want to already take your seat here. He's originally from Czech, and he has been here for our Janmashtami festival, which happened on Thursday, our biggest festival of this temple. And Prabhu is very special because he's a direct disciple of Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya of this Krishna consciousness movement. Especially, he's also very important for this Switzerland, or for the movement in Switzerland, because the Krishna conscious movement started in Switzerland, in Geneva, in 1974, and Prabhu was one of the first disciples or devotee there, joining the movement. And he has been serving as mainly as, or in main part, as a book distributor. And he is also important for this temple, for Zurich, because that movement which started in Geneva later moved to Zurich in 1980. And he is also the responsible person why we have the deities on the left side, Sri Gornitai, here in Zurich. He brought them from Geneva to here. So here we are also very thankful for that. And so he agreed to give a Sunday festival talk here, for which we are very grateful. And before we start, I request you all to come a little closer. Und braucht jemand eine Übersetzung ins Deutsche? Okay? Then I wish you a wonderful Sunday festival. Yes.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction, and thank you for having me here in this beautiful temple with most beautiful and merciful deities of Shri Gornitai and Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra. I was initially planning to talk about the I was initially wanted to talk about the process of worship, which was the theme. But I think that I will read from the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, which a part of the introduction, which is quite important, and I've read from this introduction some time ago already at our Sunday feast, if I remember well, was in Prague, in Czech Republic, where I live. And I will try to talk about this. I hope I find the... Oh yeah. So I would like to speak today about Sanatana Dharma from the Bhagavad Gita introduction. So I will read the text from the introduction and eventually then have a small discussion with you and talk about the theme. Sanatana Dharma does not refer to any sectarian process of religion. It is the eternal function of the eternal living entities in relationship with the eternal Supreme Lord. Sanatana Dharma refers, as stated previously, to the eternal occupation of the living entity. Sripad Ramanujacharya has explained the word Sanatan as that which has neither beginning nor end. So when we speak of Sanatana Dharma, we must take it for granted, on the authority of Sripad Ramanujacharya, that it has neither beginning nor end. The English word religion is a little different from Sanatana Dharma. Religion conveys the idea of faith, and faith may change. One may have faith in a particular process, and he may change this faith and adopt another. But Sanatana Dharma refers to that activity which cannot be changed. For instance, liquidity cannot be taken from water, nor can heat be taken from fire. Similarly, the eternal function of the eternal living entity cannot be taken from the living entity. Sanatana Dharma is eternally integral with the living entity. When we speak of Sanatana Dharma, therefore, we must take it for granted on the authority of Sripad Ramanujacharya that it has neither beginning nor end. That which has neither end nor beginning must not be sectarian, for it cannot be limited by any boundaries. Those belonging to some sectarian faith will wrongly consider that Sanatana Dharma is also sectarian. But if we go deeply into the matter and consider it in the light of modern science, it is possible for us to see that Sanatana Dharma is the business of all the people of the world, nay, of all the living entities of the universe. Non-Sanatana religious faith may have some beginning in the annals of human history, because it remains eternally with the living entity, but there is no beginning to the history of Sanatana Dharma because it remains eternally with the living entities. Insofar as the living entities are concerned, the authoritative Shastras state that the living entity has neither birth nor death. In the Gita it is stated that the living entity is never born and he never dies. He is eternal and indestructible, and he continues to live after the destruction of his temporary material body. In reference to the concept of Sanatana Dharma, we must try to understand the concept of religion from the Sanskrit root meaning of the word. Dharma refers to that which is constantly existing with a particular object. We conclude that there is heat and light along with the fire. Without heat and light, there is no meaning to the word fire. Similarly, we must discover the essential part of the living being, that part which is his constant companion. That constant companion is his eternal quality, and that eternal quality is his eternal religion. When Sanatana Goswami asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about the Svarupa of every living being, the Lord replied that the Svarupa or constitutional position of the living being is the rendering of service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If we analyze this statement of Lord Chaitanya, we can easily see that every living being is constantly engaged in rendering service to another living being. A living being serves other living beings in various capacities. By doing so, the living entity enjoys life. The lower animals serve human beings as servants serve their master. A serves B, master, B serves C master, and C serves D master, and so on. Under these circumstances, we can see that one friend serves another friend. The mother serves the son, the child. The wife serves the husband serves the wife, and so on. If we go on searching in this spirit, it will be seen that there is no exception in the society of living beings to the activity of service. The politician presents his manifesto for the public to convince them of his capacity for service. The voters therefore give the politician their valuable votes, thinking that he will render valuable service to the society. The shopkeeper serves the customer, and the artisan serves the capitalist. The capitalist serves the family, and the family serves the state in the terms of eternal capacity of the eternal living being. In this way, we can see that no living being is exempt from rendering service to other living beings, and therefore we can safely conclude that service is the constant companion of the living being, and that the rendering of service is the eternal religion of all living beings. Yet, man professes to belong to a particular type of faith with reference to particular time and circumstances, and thus claims to be a Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, or an adherent of any other sect. Such designations are non-Sanatan Dharma. A Hindu may change his faith to become a Muslim, or a Muslim may change his faith to become a Hindu, or a Christian may change his faith, and so on. But in all circumstances, the change of religious faith does not affect the eternal occupation of rendering service to others. The Hindu, Muslim, or Christian, in all circumstances, is a servant of someone. Thus, to profess a particular type of faith is not to profess one's Sanatan Dharma. The rendering of service is Sanatan Dharma. Factually, we are related to the Supreme Lord in service. The Supreme Lord is the Supreme Enjoyer, and we, living entities, are His servitors. We are created for His enjoyment, and if we participate in that eternal enjoyment with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we become happy. We cannot become happy otherwise. It is not possible to be happy independently, just as no one part of the body can be happy without cooperating with the stomach. It is not possible for the living entity to be happy without rendering transcendental, loving service unto the Supreme Lord. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshushummilitam Yenam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, this is a very important point. We are not a Hindu temple here. We are not here to convert people to Hinduism. No. As stated in this, what I just read, that non-Sanatan religious faith may have some beginning in the annals of human history. So, for example, we can see that the Christian religion has a beginning, and that is about 2,000 years ago, I think. Yeah. The Muslim religion has a beginning, which is something like 1,300 or 1,500 years ago. It's a beginning. They had their prophet. The Christians had Lord Jesus Christ. The Hindus also, they have some historical annals where they started to worship this or that demigod or this or that murti. So, in fact, these are non-Sanatan Dharma, as Prabhupada writes here. But there is no beginning to the history of Sanatan Dharma. That is the point. Sanatan means eternal. Yeah, that doesn't have a beginning and doesn't have an end, right? So what is taught in the Bhagavad Gita is basically Sanatan Dharma. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita is a non-sectarian book. It's not a Hindu scripture. I will give you an example why it's not a Hindu scripture. I was once in Austria distributing Prabhupada's books, and I came to a monastery, Catholic monastery, Benedictine monks, and I asked if the abbot of the monastery is present, and they said, yes, he's there. I said, I would like to give him a book. I said, oh, yeah, okay. So they introduced me to this abbot of the monastery, Benedictine, Abt Placidus was his name. I remember still his name. And and I introduced myself as a member of the Krishna consciousness movement, and that we are here in this region in Austria, and we are distributing Bhagavad Gita to the larger public. And I was thinking maybe he would be interested also to purchase the Bhagavad Gita for his library or whatever. And he gladly complied. He saw that, you know, we were nice people and that the book is also very nice, and somehow or other he was attracted to the Bhagavad Gita. So he purchased the Bhagavad Gita, and 1 year later we were again distributing in the region, and we didn't have anywhere to sleep. We were about, I don't know, 6 monks, like, you know, brahmacharis in those days. And we asked if we could sleep over in the guest house of the monastery, Catholic monastery, right? So, yeah, okay, you can sleep here, it's okay, no problem. So early in the morning, myself and all the other brahmacharis, we were walking in the garden of the monastery, chanting japa, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And the monks, they were walking around chanting their rosary about Jesus, oh Mary, etc. We had the same activities. We were chanting our rosary or japa. So one of the monks, he came to me and he said, the abbot, Abt Placidus, would like to speak with you. And I said, uh-oh, there's going to be a problem. Maybe he's going to be angry that I'm selling Hindu literatures to Catholics and trying to convert Catholics to Hinduism. That's not good. So I was thinking like this. So anyhow, I complied and I went to see the abbot. And when I came to the door, he said, come in, close the door. I was thinking, now it's going to be heavy, you know. But to my surprise, he told me, you know that Bhagavad Gita that you sold me last year? I said, yes, yes. It's one of the most interesting books I've ever read. He told me like that. This is a fact. These are not inventions of my mind. And then he told me, after telling me this thing, he said, and do you have other books also like this? So I told him, yes, yes, I will just go into my van. And I picked up first, second, third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and I brought it to him. And I gave it to him. He was very happy to receive them. He gave a nice donation for the books. And before I was leaving, he told me, but don't tell anybody, please. Because he was afraid maybe some people will be, you know, disturbed. But he was very happy to receive the books. And later on, I went every year then to give him the latest canto, the latest part of the Srimad Bhagavatam. He always purchased. And then one day I came and he passed away. He was unfortunately older already, so he passed away, and there was a new abbot in the monastery. So the next time I came, I spoke with the new abbot, and I told him, well, the previous abbot, he purchased these books. And he looked at me and said, but I won't purchase them. I'm not interested. So I said, okay. But I said, why is, you know, the previous abbot, why was he interested? I said, I don't know, but anyhow, I don't want these books. And then somehow or other I got the inspiration and told him, well, you know, these books, like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, these are books which explain knowledge about God and our Sanatan Dharma, our eternal occupation, without reference to any specific faith, right? And he said, no, we have enough of our scriptures, Christian scriptures, we don't want. And somehow or other I was inspired. I said, so you're not interested to know more about God? And he said, Actually, no. And then I told him, but you know, when you are not interested to know more about God, how do you expect that the people in your community will be interested to know more about God? How does the people who live in the villages and the towns around here will be more interested in God when you are not interested in knowing more about God? He looked at me and said, okay, give me the books. And he purchased now the books. Srila Prabhupada, or founder Acharya, he lived in Calcutta, and he had a tenant in his house who was Muslim. He was of Muslim faith. And he had to move out from his flat because he changed his occupation, he went somewhere else. And he moved everything out, and he took his Bhagavad Gita also. He had a Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada said, oh, don't you want to leave this Bhagavad Gita here? I mean, you know, you're a Muslim, why do you... And he said, no, Swamiji, or Babu, Prabhupada, he told him, Bhaktivedanta, it wasn't even called, it was called Abhay Charan Day. He said, Abhay Charan, I will take this Bhagavad Gita, this is my favorite book. And he was Muslim. Yeah. So, this is just illustrating the fact that Bhagavad Gita is not concerned with sectarian religious faith, but rather with opening our hearts and learning how to love God and how to serve God, because it is our eternal occupation to serve. We have to serve. But if we don't serve God, Krishna or Allah, you can change through the name, Jesus, yeah? Mary, whatever. If we don't serve God, we cannot be happy. That is the secret of spiritual existence. We cannot be happy without serving God. There's an illustrative story about this in the Upadesha of the senses making a strike against the stomach, right? So we all have senses, the hands, the legs, the mouth, the tongue, right? The eyes, the ears, we have senses, right? And we have a stomach, this down here. So the hands, the legs, the arms, the eyes, all the senses have to work. We all have to work, there's no doubt about it. And what we do is that at a certain point we work to get food, right? Then we take this food with our hand and put it into the mouth. There's the tongue, and we chew the food. And then it lands in the stomach. So one day the senses said, this stomach is a rascal capitalist. He is exploiting us like anything. He doesn't do anything. He just sits there and enjoys what we, with our hard work, we have gained for him, this capitalist rascal. Yeah? Like this, they were protesting against the stomach. So they had a conference, yeah? And in doing that conference, they said, finished. We won't serve that stomach. Lazy capitalist who simply enjoys our labor. Why should we serve the stomach? No, we won't stop to serve the stomach. And they went on strike. Nothing more to the mouth, the hands, nothing taking out in their hands, the legs, all refused to serve the stomach, right? So after a few days, the senses started to feel a little weak. And they were thinking, what's going on? I mean, after all, we're working like anything, but somehow or other, we're feeling weak. And after some time, they felt so weak they couldn't even move. The hands started to hang like this, the legs, and then they laid down, the whole body was completely like, completely groggy, as we say. It couldn't move anymore. And then they had another conference, the senses, and they thought, well, there must be something with the stomach that allows us to be healthy and strong, right? So maybe, after all, this stomach is not such a bad capitalist. After all, maybe this stomach is necessary for us also, that he enjoys the food that we provide to him, to the stomach. Maybe the stomach is happy to receive this, and we are getting strength from the stomach digesting the food and making the transformation of the food into proteins and to in our blood cells, etc. Right? And in this way, they decided again that why should we not serve the stomach again? So they decided to serve the stomach again, and as a result of that, they gained strength and were happy. Yeah. So this is an analogy to the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, or you may call him Allah, you may call him God in the heavens. God has so many names, and actually, in fact, God has no name, right? But he has names according to his activities and his relationships with the devotees.
Just to confirm.
Just to confirm. So, God has no name, but he has so many names which are connected to his activities and relationships with his devotees. Now, the name Krishna may sound Hindu or Indian to many, but the Sanskrit root of the name Krishna means that he's all attractive. Everyone is attractive by Krishna. That's the meaning. Allah means that he is all powerful, the supreme. And the Jews, some people call them Jehovah, some call them G D, because they cannot pronounce, or they are not allowed to say the name of God. Yeah. But in India, there are so many names of God. Krishna is one of them. Another name of Krishna is also Govinda. Govinda is he who gives pleasure to the cows. Krishna loves the cows. And to the senses. Go means the senses and the cows. Gopal means that he is a friend of the cowherd boys, because when he was here on this planet 5,000 years ago, in his form as Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he had so many friends who were cowherds. Actually, Lord Sri Krishna, as we know from the scriptures, from the Srimad Bhagavatam, he appeared as a bluish boy playing with cowherds and cows. So he can appear as he wants. This was his most beautiful transcendental form, Krishna. But he can also appear like he appeared to Moses. Moses, as you know, was in the Sinai desert, and he went to the Mount Sinai, and there God manifested himself in a burning bush. He manifested as a burning bush. He can appear as a burning bush also. Yeah? And so he can appear as much as he wants, in so many forms, unlimited forms. So the fact of the matter is that we are eternally meant to serve. If you don't serve, I don't know if someone maybe knows the name of a famous American folk singer who is called Bob Dylan. You ever heard of him? Bob Dylan. Yeah? So Bob Dylan sang a very nice song. I personally found it very interesting, this song. And the refrain of the song goes like that. You have to serve somebody. If you either serve the Lord or the devil, but you have to serve somebody. Yeah? So we have to serve somebody. If you serve the devil, you're not very happy. For example, addicts, drug addicts, right? Heroin addicts. What are they doing? They're just serving the devil. And they can't stop to serve the devil. Immediately if they stop to serve the devil, the drug, the addiction, they feel complete pain, because the devil forces them. The addictive force of the devil is very, very big, drinking, alcohol, cigarettes, all these addictive habits that the people have, they're products of the devil, would when you say, yeah? And people are serving their habits. They don't serve Krishna. They refuse to serve Krishna. I want to serve my habits. Yeah? But they don't become happy. They become unhappy. In fact, those who are addicted to intoxication, they don't even enjoy the intoxication at a certain point. At a certain point, they just have to have it. They're compelled to have it. Yeah. Now, for example, in America, there's the crisis with fentanyl. Fentanyl is 100 times more addictive and dangerous than heroin. And these people, the young people, old people, never mind, they're dying on the street by the hundreds in the US and Canada through this extremely powerful intoxicating drug. But they cannot give it up because it's so addictive. So you have to serve somebody. You have to serve somebody. You have to serve God or the devil, but you have to serve somebody, right? And some people are so, I would say, unhappy that they cannot serve, that they buy themselves a doggy, and they serve the doggy. You can see them, walking in the street, picking up the stool from the doggy, and they're serving their dog, or they're serving their cat, or they're serving their horse, or I don't know what, So we have to serve somebody, because service is the eternal occupation of all living entities, right? And some living entities serve, I would say, unconsciously, right? There is it is called the symbiotic activities. There's trees here, for example, in the garden, which have another creeper climbing up the tree, right? And it serves, the tree serves the creeper, and the creeper serves the tree. I have seen a documentary which I really liked. There is, hippopotamus? Yeah, hippos. These are the big guys who live in the river, and they usually live in these African places. And there is a bird which is called the hippopotam dentist, right? So the hippo at a certain point opens his huge mouth because they're very big, and they have these huge teeth, and the birds fly in and clean the teeth from the hippopotam. They serve the hippo. So you see that in nature, you see so many of these symbiotic activities between animals, plants, insects. Look at, for example, how necessary it is for the plants, fruit trees, specifically fruit trees, how necessary it is for the fruit trees, they are pollinated. And what is the pollinating? They're the bees. The bees come nicely and land on the flower of the fruit tree, specifically, and pollinate. Then they take the pollen from the flower of that tree and bring it to another tree and pollinate. This way they spread the life-giving pollen to other trees so that they can blossom and ultimately bear fruit. It's at a certain point when people destroy the bees, which is something which is very bad, unfortunate, so they have to go and pollinate by hand. In California, for example, there was a crisis where all the bees were exterminated by some kind of chemical, because many people think that we'll just spray everything and get rid of the pests, but they get rid of the bees as well, And the bees are so necessary. So suddenly, they have trees which are not pollinated and they don't bear fruit anymore. So the people have to go and pollinate the flowers themselves. Serve again. You have to always serve. Serve somebody, If you don't serve, it doesn't work. You just have to serve. At a certain point, you can serve, for example, your senses also, right? The senses demand this, the senses demand that. Actually, senses are terrible masters. There's one poet, Bengali poet, who describes the senses as tyrants. They always ask for some more and more and more, and they're never happy. They're never satisfied. There's never a point of saturation. Maybe you become saturated at a certain point, but again, you have to serve the senses. The senses are so tyrannic, right? So this is the point that is made here in this section of the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, that our eternal occupation, is to serve. So thus, to profess a particular type of faith is not to profess one's Sanatan Dharma. The rendering of service is Sanatan Dharma, right? So the Sanatan Dharma of service can be perfected in this human form of life by serving the one who supplies us with everything, right? There is a statement in the Vedas which is very, very good. Nitta nittanam chetana chetananam ekojo bahunam vidadhati kaman. Nitta nittanam. We are nitta, as was described here in this section. We are eternal. Yeah? We are not destroyed when the body is destroyed. That's the essence of the teaching, the fundamental teaching of Bhagavad Gita. That we are eternal. We do not die when the body dies. We simply change our body just like we change clothes. When the clothes are used up, torn, we put on another set of clothes. Similarly, when this body is used up or doesn't function anymore, or is attacked by some disease, or mainly, in our case, most of us, all of us, excuse me, we are attacked by old age, I'm already a little older also, and I feel my knee is hurting now, So we are attacked by old age, and when this body is really not functioning anymore, or is attacked by some disease like cancer, for example, which is a terminal disease in 99.9% of cases, right? So we have to give up this body which is not usable anymore, and we accept a new body which is based on our thoughts in the moment of death. It's stated that when one dies, before one dies, all these activities during the whole life are projected within a few seconds in your mind, yes? And the essence, the essence of all our desires is there in our mind, and it's so intense that we cannot do anything but simply think of that thing that we were so much attracted and attached to during our life. This morning you were here. This morning we were reading about King Puranjana, who was incredibly attached to his beautiful, charming wife. And he somehow or other had to give up his body, but because he was so attached to his wife, the next birth he took as a woman. He became a woman because he was so attracted and so attached to the form of a beautiful woman. So he became a woman. The same thing can happen vice versa. If a woman at the point of death is very attractive to a man and thinks of the man, she becomes a man. Or if one's attracted to eating like a pig, one can become a pig in one's next life. Pigs it's a cool way of living. You can eat everything, right? If you like to eat everything, why not become a pig? It's so easy, then nobody will be controlling you or criticizing you that you're a pig, because you are a pig, So the life is eternal. Yeah, we are not born, we are not dying, we are simply changing our bodies just like we change clothes. So nitta. And we are nityanam, plural number, and there is one nitya who is singular number. And that is God. He is the supreme entity who is independent, and He is also eternal. We are eternal and God is eternal. But we are many, nityanam, bahudam, and God is one, only one, eka. Nitta nittanam, chetanas chetananam. And He is conscious, God is conscious, and we are also conscious. But we are the plural conscious. We are so many living entities which are conscious. you know. That's the presence of the soul makes consciousness. It's not that animals have no consciousness. Of course they have consciousness. And that means that they have a soul. Trees have consciousness. That means there is a soul. Flowers have consciousness. That means there is a soul. There is no living entity without a soul. This doesn't exist, right? So anyhow, this verse says, Nitta Nittanam Chetanas Chetananam. So there are many eternals and one eternal. And there's many conscious Chetanas, Chetananam. And there's one conscious, he's one. And what's the difference? Eko jo bahunam virarhati kaman. That one supplies all the necessities for the many. Yeah. So, can you make a tomato in a factory? No. Can you make an apple in a factory? No. You cannot even make one grain of rice in a factory. Who supplies this? No, we can make automobiles, we can shoot rockets to the moon, we can do so many things, but we cannot create a grain of rice, right? So, the spiritual or the Sanatana Dharma, the serving, means that we serve with love and devotion, if possible, that one who supplies everything to us. That's why, for example, in our Hare Krishna movement, all the food that we cook, downstairs we have a beautiful kitchen, all the food that we cook, we cook it with love and devotion. We have expert cooks. Unlike most of the cooks, they don't taste what they're cooking. You really have to be a good cook for that. If you don't, many people don't know, they cook and they taste, too much salt, not enough salt, it needs more spices, you know. But our cooks here in the temple, they don't taste the food before, during the cooking. They are experts, otherwise they couldn't cook. I couldn't cook, I'm sorry. Anyhow, and once it's cooked nicely with love and devotion, it is offered, served, that's the word, served to the Lord on a beautiful plate. Particularly here in your temple, I've noticed that you are so expert on the cleanliness of your plates and the cleanliness of these beautiful cups which we are having in front of the deities, you know. I've never seen such clean cups in my life, you know. They're so purely clean, and the plates also. Sometimes when you don't see usually the plates because it's behind the curtain, but if you see the plates, how they're clean, spotless, you know. And the devotees put these preparations, you will taste them as prasadam later on these plates. And they even put, out of love and devotion, they put a leaf of tulasi. Tulasi is a very favorite plant of Lord Krishna. So therefore, they put a little tulasi on each preparation. They put water, some juice, whatever, and even a spoon. Like if the Lord, who doesn't have hands like Jagannath, he can also eat. You know? The Lord doesn't have to have hands to eat. He eats with his eyes, and he eats with his ears. You know, when we offer food, we have this little bell. Do you offer your food also, some of you, to Krishna? You, of course. So if you offer your food to Krishna, you have a little bell. Ding, 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 ding. And you recite mantras. We recite the mantra to offer food to Krishna. And Krishna eats by hearing. Krishna eats by seeing. And that's why it's interesting that when we offer Krishna prasadam on the altar, and when when the offering is finished, the food is still there. Fantastico. You know, he doesn't even eat it. You know, he just leaves it for you. And that is called Bhagavad Prasad. That is purified food without any karmic reactions, and is fulfilling for the body and for the spirit. It's food for the soul also. It's not only food for the body, you know, parsaram. You will have it in 15 minutes. So this is service attitude. right? We serve the Lord, we sing for the Lord, we clean the temple for the Lord, we cook for the Lord, we distribute books for the Lord, to please the Lord, to spread His glory, right? We worship the Lord with incense and with flowers, etc., etc. This is the attitude of service. So this Krishna consciousness movement teaches people how to serve God nicely, perfectly, in the tradition of this Sanatana Dharma, which is Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is not a Hindu faith. You know, sometimes people misunderstand that this Krishna consciousness movement is just some kind of a Hindu sect which teaches a form of Hinduism. But it's not a fact. We are teaching simply how to worship God in a very specific way, which was, of course, traditionally practiced and still is in India. But it has nothing to do specifically with India. That's why we can do it even us. We are white people. We weren't born in India, right? Uttama Shloka Prabhu here, he's from Switzerland, and he knows about Krishna consciousness much more than we think, you know. And he's not a Hindu. He doesn't consider himself a Hindu. He's a devotee of Krishna. He's a devotee of God. We are devotees of God, and that's all. So we are happy that you come on this Sunday or many Sundays to attend our lectures and take prasadam mainly and chant with us the holy names of Krishna. We are very happy and honored that you have taken your time. You could have gone to the beach next to the lake in Zurich and swim instead of that, you know. Mainly today it would be nice to swim in the lake. But you have chosen to come into this temple, and we are very thankful that you have taken such opportunity and come here to the temple and listen to bhajans, chanting Hare Krishna and reading from the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. And then, of course, respecting, honoring, we say in English, honoring Bhagavad Prasadam. We don't eat prasadam. Prasadam is sanctified food. We honor prasadam. Yeah? We have the big honor. And as I said before, honoring prasadam means feeding not only the body, but feeding the soul. Yeah? That's why people are attracted to it. I come from Prague in Czech Republic. We have 4 Govinda restaurants in Prague. And we have each day about 150 to 200 people attending each of our restaurants. And most of them are, I would call prasadam addicts, right? Because there's, I don't know here in Zurich, but in Prague we have, except for these 4 Govinda restaurants, we have about 15 or no, maybe 30 vegetarian restaurants. You know, it's not that we're the only vegetarian people, vegan people, right? There's so many vegetarian restaurants there, and people like many people like nowadays more and more vegetarian, vegan food because they know it's more healthy for them. It's more, yeah, and they don't participate in the killing of animals, right? So they choose to eat vegan, vegetarian. So why do they go to Govindas? There's so many other vegan, vegetarian restaurants because they know this is something special. I remember I was once also, I'm also a prasadam addict. I came to this Govinda and there was 2 men, they took a plate, thali with prasadam, they sat down and each of them, they didn't say like, how they say in Switzerland, anguetta. Huh? They didn't say like bon appetit or goethe, you know, something like that. They said, I wish you a nice experience. Yeah, and they were normal, like, I mean, people, they weren't devotees of Krishna. Yeah, and mainly I've noticed mothers with little babies or with children in their womb still, you know, they love to go to Govinda. They know that this unborn child in the womb, he feels nicely when he eats this sanctified, or when she takes, the mother takes this sanctified food, and she knows the baby feels nicely then, you know. It's not pungent, at least in our Govindas, we don't put too many spices. You know, we cook in a way which is acceptable for the Western style of people, you know, because some of the spicy Indian foods are not actually, yeah. So anyhow, we are simply trying to serve God, serve our spiritual master who has mercifully given us all this knowledge. We do not worship our spiritual master because this is not a cult of personality, you know. Many people have a cult of personality, mainly the politicians. Yeah, they have a personality cult. They have some, I don't know, power, and they want to be like, you know, worshipped. You know? I've recently seen one of the presidents, one of the latest presidents of a big country which is waging a war today. I won't say the names, and he's worshipped by people like anything. It's a personality cult, you know. In the past it was Stalin. Stalin had such a powerful, Stalin was a Soviet leader, and he had such a powerful personality cult, you know. Personality cult. This is not a personality cult. We are worshipping our spiritual master because he has kindly given us all this knowledge. And in this way we can become happy. And we are thankful to him. Srila Prabhupada once gave a lecture in Stockholm, in Sweden, where he described the spiritual master as a peon or mail deliverer. Postler, sagt man Schweizerdeutsch. Ein Postler. Yeah? So he compared the spiritual master to a postman. So he gave the example that, for example, your mother or your grandmother or some friends, they send you some money, okay? And you have this postman who brings you the money to the door. He rings the bell, right? And say, I have this for you. It was sent from your whoever, and please have it, you know. So Prabhupada said, and the person who receives the money, he is very happy with this postman. Yeah? And he's saying, oh, you're nice. It's not his money, Prabhupada said. It's not his money. It's money which was given to you. So the similar way, the Bhagavatam, the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, it's not Prabhupada's books. He didn't write them. He's not the author of Bhagavad Gita. It's Krishna. The same goes for Bhagavad Puran, Srimad Bhagavatam. All these literatures were written, composed by previous spiritual masters, and our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, or his disciples who act on his behalf as spiritual masters, they just simply deliver this knowledge, and we are thankful to them that they delivered this knowledge. That's why we worship and serve our spiritual master, not for any other reason. Not because he's a charismatic leader or because he has some kind of charisma or power or mystic power. Many people in India specifically, they have some guru who has some powers, some mystic powers, you know, and therefore they worship him because he has some powers. But in our case, in this tradition of Vaishnava, Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, we worship the spiritual master because he delivers without change that was given by the previous spiritual masters. He didn't invent anything, he didn't add anything, subtract anything. He just delivers as it is. Therefore this Bhagavad Gita is called as it is. Bhagavad Gita, wie sie ist auf Deutsch. Yes? So I thank you very much for your attention and for your attending our program, as I've said. And we have 5 minutes more before we go to honor Bhagavad Prasadam. So you may be asking a question. You are welcome to ask any question if you desire. Hare Krishna.
I have a question. Today is Ekadashi, and we used to eat bread every day. It was a culture, and I read that it's like a big sin that I didn't know about, and I just would like to know.
Today,
how there's another saying that I don't remember it very well, but I'm sorry. The question is like, how can I get rid of that sin? Or
I see.
yeah.
Well, put it like that. The word sin has various levels. For example, killing a human being is a capital sin. For that you're hanged. Not anymore, but you spend most of your life in prison. That's a capital sin. So even I think in the Christian tradition they have different levels. There's the deadly sin, and there's sins which are not as important, right? And in case of Ekadasi, which means the 11th day after the full moon, where we fast from grains like bread, right, is a good time to be austere, to practice austerity, not to, because austerity is we say in our language, austerity is the wealth of the Brahmana. That's a nice saying, isn't it? Austerity is the wealth. So, if you're not a Brahmana, if you didn't receive initiation formally from a spiritual master and taken vows, this is a question of vows. The devotees who have taken vows on themselves, we have in our movement we have 4 vows, 5 actually. The 4 vows are not do nots, and 1 vow is to do. The 4 vows to do not is no illicit sex, no meat eating, no intoxication, and no gambling. These are the nots. If you take the vow. Not everyone is obliged to take the vow. No one is obliging you to take the vow. Take it or leave it, right? And then there is the vow to do, and that is that we chant 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra daily on our Japamala. Yeah?
Why 16? Sorry.
I'm sorry?
Why 16?
Why 16? Because that's the minimum. Actually, it's a fact. Actually, when Prabhupada first initiated his disciples in New York in 1966, he said, so now you will be initiated. And they said, and what does it entail? And he said, well, these 4 regulative principles. Most of them are saying, what? No intoxications? All these guys were smoking ganja and taking LSD? Oh, difficult. Meat eating, not so big problem. Illicit sex, oh, that's real heavy stuff, whoa. But Prabhupada told them, take it or leave it. You want to get initiated, these are the rules, right? And then he said, and you chant 64 rounds. And the disciples said, well, you cannot ask that from us. I mean, that's really too much for us. If you chant 64 rounds, it takes you 8 hours during the day. 8 hours. No, forget it. No, we won't take initiation. Then Prabhupada said, okay, 32. I said, no, 32, that's 4 hours, 5 hours. Well, no. We have to work, we have to have a job. This we cannot, it's not possible. In India, you can live somewhere in a hut and chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. If you don't have a job, you can do it. But if you have a job, it's impossible, basically. So Prabhupada said, okay, 16. But that's like the minimum. So it takes about 2 hours to chant 16 rounds on your japamala, and it purifies the mind, and it's nice. So anyhow, to the question about Ekadasi, if you didn't take any vows formally that you will follow also this specific date of fasting from grains, then it's not to be considered as a big sin. And it's mainly, even if you took the vows, if you break Ekadasi, as we say, it's not that you spend the rest of your life in hell, I mean, it's just simply not a good thing to break one's vows. It's just a question of vows, And we prefer to tell people, don't take vows if you're not ready. Don't take vows. Sometimes people take vows out of social pressure. Somebody tells them, you have to get initiated, you have to take the vows, you know. And, I have to take the vows. Oh, okay, I'll take the vows. But they're not ready. The people are not ready. And then when they break their vows, they become their consciousness becomes bad. They have remorse. They feel bad about it. Oh boy, I took vows and I cannot follow the vows. Oh, horrible, horrible. You know, we don't want that. We don't want that. We prefer you just chant Hare Krishna as much as you want. You can chant one round, no problem. And if you really have to eat bread on Ekadasi, if you didn't take vows, just eat bread, no problem. You won't go to hell for that, you know what I mean? Of course, there are some fanatics who would tell you the contrary, but I'm not a fanatic. I'm sorry. Okay? Is that all right? So, no problem with the, yeah.
If I took a vow in previous life,
Uh-huh.
I don't remember, you know.
Well, if you took a vow in a previous life, then I don't know how you do it. And, it's possible, I don't know, it's possible. This is a very esoteric question, I would say. If I took vows in my past life, yeah, possibly you did, maybe, I don't know. It's difficult to say, I cannot ascertain this. But in this life, in this specific life, take vows only if you are ready to follow these vows. And even if you don't, by chance or by bad habit, you break the vows, just continue. Continue. My godbrother Rohini Sutta, he says a specific mantra, einfach weitermachen. That's a very nice mantra, I like that. Is that all right? Did I answer your question, more or less? Yeah, you're welcome.
A short question.
Yes?
Hare Krishna.
Does it work? Does it work?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I'm here for the first time. I'm a visitor from Austria, so it was very funny for me to hear the story about
Stift Sekau.
I wrote a little note about this.
Sekau.
This abt.
Kapfenberg.
Yeah, I know it.
Steiermark.
It's one of the most beautiful and green
definitely.
Bundesländer.
Bundesländer.
I have a short question before Prasad, because we have to celebrate it. At which point am I considered a devotee without taking the vows yet?
If you accept God, you are a devotee. Simple.
I think then I'm my most harsh critic, because I set my goals and my not boundaries, but
there are different
achievements.
kinds of devotees, you know.
Well, I hope to be
levels.
the good one.
Well, it's like in sport, you know. You can be an amateur. You're from Austria, right? So there's so many skiers in Austria. You want to be a professional skier who makes a lot of money and skis better than everyone else? You can't do that. You're entitled to do that. But otherwise, you can also ski like a tourist, like a amateur, and you enjoy it also. It's also nice. Why do people go skiing if they don't want to be champions of the world? Because it's enjoyable. The same thing is for devotees. If you want to be a devotee, it's enjoyable. The life is easy, it's simple, it's blissful. And if you want to be a pure devotee, advanced devotee, then you can train yourself to be a nice devotee by chanting 16 rounds, by following the 4 regulative principles, by associating with the devotees of Krishna, and reading the books that we have. We have many, many books. And this way you can purify yourself and become more advanced devotee of God. But anyone who accepts God, he is a devotee. He is a devotee. Anyone who accepts God. If you reject God, if you say there's no God, I don't believe in God, then you're not a devotee. We understand each other, devotees.
I've got the point, thank you.
You got
Hare
it?
Krishna, yes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming.
Thank you to having me. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so any other question? Otherwise we can go and honor. You have a question? Someone has? Yes, you have a question.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
thank
Krishna.
you for today. I would like to ask which are the 6 things to do? Because you explained this 4 to don't do and the 6 to do. You said 6. I understood, maybe I understood wrong.
1.
1. Because I understood 1 is chant 16 rounds. And then there's no others.
Well, there are some rules to do. Like, for example, when you live in a temple, you have to wake up early morning at 4 o'clock and attend the morning program. Yeah, and you have to. There are different to-do things. You have to follow Ekadasi, as we've said. We take a vow, then you follow Ekadasi also. You must follow Ekadasi. You must offer also your food, which means you cannot go to a shop and just buy vegetarian, vegan stuff and yum yum yum. It's a devotee has some specific. I had some friends. Devotees who thinking, well, I don't have the time to offer the food to Krishna, so they went into a supermarket and they offered the whole supermarket to Krishna. In their mind, of course. So that is not really a nice thing to do. You can take an apple and a little picture of Krishna. You have a little picture of Krishna which you like, whatever picture you have, and you can cut the apple or the bread also, and you offer it to Krishna. There's some kind of do's that we have above this chanting 16 rounds. And actually, for those who are really orthodox Vaishnavas, there are still many other regulations concerning mainly the deity worship. Yeah? And in the process of archa, vigraha, worship of the deities, there's many do's, there's all kind of mantras to sing. Cleanliness is very important for those who perform puja. They have to be nothing dirty can be, there's some kind of